Hi and welcome to SCW. It's time for another Q&A live stream. So if you want any questions answered today, then get involved in the chat. Of course, today's top topic will be discussing AEW's All Out 2022, who will be the first ever Trios Champions. It's an exciting time in pro wrestling. A new championship coming to AEW that I'm actually really excited about. It's something that's been rumored for a very, very long time. But before we start, I want to give a quick shout out to Cassie Lee and as well to Sean Spears, of course, Sean Spears of AEW. Of course, Cassie Lee, formerly Peyton Royce in WWE, expecting their first child. Congratulations to them both. Seeing that news on Instagram earlier on today. But without further ado, then, like I say, get involved in the chat, get involved with your questions. But first off, the AEW Trios Championships. And first off, just look at these titles. How beautiful is this of a championship design? Absolutely gorgeous. As I said, Trios action is really exciting to see. We've got plenty of factions in AEW as well. Many potential winners if you look through the roster. This is just some of the ones I could find pulling out at such short notice today. Look at this here. We've got the Undisputed Elite coming back this evening. House of Black there. We've got Death Triangle. We've got Jericho Appreciation Society. The Blackpool Combat Club. We've got Best Friends. Got the Arse Boys, the Gun Club. We've got Jay Lethal, Satnam Singh, and Sanjay Dutt. We've got Dark Order. We've got QT Faction, the Factory. And we could even get Los Inoblages as well with Andrade El Idolo and Rouge. Potentially as well to get Dragon Lee involved as well. And that's not to mention the Forbidden Door is usually involved also with the Trios Championships. Think of the likes of Triple A, of course, Lucha Libre, very popular with Trios action. I wouldn't be surprised to see a team from there involved in this tournament. As well as that also, perhaps even New Japan. We've got so many factions over there. Think Bullet Club, think Chaos, think LIJ over there. We've got so many factions. United Empire. I know we've just had Forbidden Door, but it wouldn't surprise me if we had some in this Trios tournament. Now, first and foremost, I'm looking at the Undisputed Elite for me as potential winners because Tony Khan made it clear that his ambition was to get Kenny Omega back for these championships. And of course, we've seen the Young Bucks last week on AEW suggesting the idea that they could be interested in these championships and also crossing with Hangman Adam Page. I think there's a big story that's going to play out between all of this going on. Whether it starts tonight on AEW Dynamite, we need to start building to All Out. We've got just under, over 4 weeks away. We've got till we get to the show. So we need to start building to it. I feel eventually Adam Cole and Red Dragon, they will turn on the Young Bucks. Now, whether that's going to be during the tournament, getting to All Out at the last moment, or starting tonight, I expect it to happen. And I think initially, a bit of me feels that Hangman Adam Page will be torn as well, what he will do for the tournament. Will he be aligning himself with, say, John Silver and Alex Reynolds with the Dark Order? Or will they have to align with perhaps, say, at number 10 or Evil Uno to go into the tournament? Hangman and the Bucks may actually forgive each other and actually get together as a potential contenders to go and win the championships at All Out. Remember, they are former Ring of Honor 6-man tag team champions as well. So they've got history of being a partnership. And there's lots of different avenues you could go with that as well. I mean, think about, say, the idea of with Kenny Omega. Does he come back before All Out, as he's potentially rumored he could be coming back imminently, and say to the Bucks, what are you doing? You could have been with me in this tournament. Or perhaps Hangman and the Bucks win the tournament, then Kenny comes back, and then there's some drama going on with that. Do we find that Hangman Page and Kenny Omega can actually reconcile their differences after their long storyline? Or do we even get an idea where Hangman Adam Page could get injured, say, at the show, and then Kenny Omega comes back at All Out to partner with the Bucks to take on Red Dragon and Adam Cole, of course, the Undisputed Elite in the final. That's my prediction for the final. I'm really happy to see most of these teams go and win the gold, though. Whether it's, I mentioned about Andrade El Idolo and Rouge. Of course, if they could get someone like a Dragon Lee or a Bandito on their side, that would be quite cool as a trio as well. There's so many potentials, so many ideas. House of Black, I know, will be very popular with our chat tonight. I know Death Triangle as well will be very popular as well. Even though Pac is in the UK right now defending the All Atlantic Championship, which I'm hoping we can talk a bit about that during this stream at some point as well. But that's sort of my prediction with it. I think that that's the final we're going to get. Adam Cole and Red Dragon, of course, the UE, if you want, going against Hangman Adam Page and the Young Bucks. Does Kenny Omega return during, after, before? Remains to be seen. But I think Omega will be kept to the back, and I think that Omega will come out once, in my opinion, we get Hangman and the Bucks becoming the first ever Trios Championships, because Hangman's doing nothing at the moment, in my opinion, nothing of note. He's fallen from grace since winning the AEW World Championship and losing it, of course, to CM Punk at Double or Nothing. He's had a very sort of rocky couple of months, not really done so much of note since. The Young Bucks, of course, they were transitional tag team champions, lost those belts to Swerve and Our Glory, of course, just recently. So, yeah, I think for me, that's going to be my early pick. Now, we've not seen the brackets at this point for anyone that's watching on delay at a later time. So, of course, the brackets are really exciting with a tournament. Will it be just two teams? Will we get like a three-way dance? We've seen that with the ladder matches where we see 2 or 3 teams involved with 9 superstars at the same time. There's a lot of superstars on the roster in AEW, and we've got a show to fill. Only so many people can make the card. So that's what I think. Let's go to the comments. Let's see what everybody has got to say. Noob McCoy being the first to say, you forgot about FTR and CM Punk. Now, we're reasoning for that. There's a good reason. I'm glad you brought it up, Noob. Punk is out injured. Punk is still away with the broken foot. I don't think he's going to be back in time for this tournament. If he is going to be back in time, he is the AEW World Champion. So I believe that he will actually come in and actually go against Jon Moxley, if that's the case. I mean, for example, I've mentioned the Blackball Combat Club there, for example, but you've got Claudio Castagnoli, you've got Wheeler Yuta, you've got Bryan Danielson, you've got that trio covered for the BCC to go into that tournament. Now, I do know that Dax Harwood actually did make a reference to this, actually on Twitter as well, that the only way Punk would come back is if they could all be a trio in this tournament. Look, it'd be a lot of fun. It'd be great to see. You could even do other combinations that we've not even mentioned either. But what about Eddie Kingston and Ortiz? Maybe bringing Homicide for the night because, Santana's not going to be a factor anymore. But looking at this, if it was me and looking at things, I think with All Out, CM Punk, if he does make it back in time, and it's in Chicago, so I think he may show his face. I think we're looking at Punk versus Moxley. FTR, I'm still not sure what they're going to be doing. I wouldn't be surprised that if they tried to win all the gold, because someone's got to go for Swerve and Our Glory. Otherwise, and this is a question for the chat as well, do you think there's a potential that the tag team titles could be actually overlooked when it comes to this show and all the focus goes onto the trios? Because, well, like I said, there's a lot of factions and this is going to be the brand new toy that's playing in AEW. How much of a big deal is it going to be seen as? Martin Creo here as well says, what's up, SCW? I feel like Malachi Black has hit the mark, hasn't hit the mark yet, he's gone on to say in the next comment there. Would it be better for the House of Black to win it? Potentially could be. I mean, this would be a good starting point for him. At this point, as well as when we look at Brody King as well, along with Buddy Murphy. Brody King has had a mega push as of late, did really well in that Battle Royal they did. Was it the Royal Rampage, I think they called it? And I thought it was an excellent concept. Hope that they go to do that again in future. And he was a very worthy winner, had a great match with Jon Moxley. So for Malachi Black and for him, this would be very good. Buddy Murphy as well has been very impressive in ring as well. I'd be totally fine if House of Black were to win this, perhaps even go to the final. We could even get a scenario where, if we want to have this rivalry example with what I said there, with the Undisputed Elite and with the Bucks, and whether it's Omega or Hangman Adam Page, we could get a case of where the heels, say Adam Cole and Red Dragon, go out to the House of Black make it to the final, and it's actually Adam Cole that costs the Bucks actually to win those championships. Could be on side, but actually jealousy plays a factor when it comes to the big night and to the big show. So there's lots of different fantasy booking ideas you could do with this. And like I said, I do think that the House of Black are going to be a very popular option when it does come to the chat this evening. But for the chat, throw in your questions, get yourselves in. It would be nice to see how it is going to play out. But Martin's got a couple more comments for us in the meantime. It says, but what if Omega joins Cole Red Dragon instead of the Young Bucks? Now, that would be really fascinating to see, because Kenny Omega, of course, was a heel the last time he was around. The Young Bucks at the moment are still heels at the moment, but I imagine if they were to reconcile with Hangman Adam Page, and of course, what if it was a case of where we do see Red Dragon and Cole turn on them? If Omega was to go there, then that would be quite shocking TV. I think a lot of people would expect him to go back to be with the Bucks, but yeah, Kenny Omega was doing some great work as a heel. It'd be interesting to see how it would fit in as a babyface once again, if that's how it would be when he would return. Of course, a lot of fans would miss him, so I think he would naturally get that big pop anyway. But of course, sometimes AEW, they're not afraid to just go out there and say, you're going to still be a heel. Maybe get the big pop, embrace it, and then turn on the good guys. So yeah, it would be shocking TV. I would be surprised to see it, but hey, I wouldn't be against it either, because it gives us something to talk about, and that's certainly something I like to see in my AEW TV. Martin also said, since no TV deal has been done from Ring of Honor, why not have some Ring of Honor titles being defended at All Out? Now, I'm not entirely against this idea, but my personal take on this would be a little bit that, well, Ring of Honor just had their show. And of course, we're mentioning, I think FTR are probably the first ones that come to brain there. Claudio Castagnoli as well, being the Ring of Honor World Champion right now. They've just had their big show. To sort of keep having a cluster of these different companies in AEW shows, I think takes away from the AEW product itself. And that's just a personal point of view at this particular time, because I do feel that with AEW, they haven't been as consistent on their storytelling in 2022. Some of the stuff they've done, of course, they're very consistent with what they do and can knock it out the park. But I think having the likes of the Forbidden Door show, you see there was a drop in ratings, a drop of interest from some people. I think with Ring of Honor being around here and there also, people don't know whether they're coming or going. So I hope that eventually Ring of Honor gets a TV deal. And I think the smart thing to do in the meantime would be to give them a YouTube show. Just do like Dark Elevation and make it Ring of Honor. Make even a takeover form, like an invasion. This is our show now. That would be quite fun to see, because of course it puts in that seed of rivalry between AEW and Ring of Honor, even though I know we've got some AEW top talents holding some Ring of Honor titles. But at the same time, it gives them something where they can have their own uniqueness, their own show. People can go and check it out. And perhaps as well, this can then be seen to a TV deal if they were to try and sign up, or a streaming deal and go, well, look, this is how well it's doing on YouTube and people are interested in this. So maybe we can take this off of YouTube and put it on a different platform. It certainly would be something I would be quite keen to see. But if we are going to have ROH titles involved here at All Out, for myself personally, I prefer it on the buy-in. The only exception I'd make to this rule is if FTR do go for the tag team titles, and instead of with the Bucks, with Swerve and Glory, if they do put all the titles on the line, then it's a completely different ballpark, and I'd be okay with it. But mainly because the AEW tag team titles would be at stake as well. Martin, another question. Showcases Blackball Combat Club on a bigger stage and can make fans watch ROH in case they haven't. Well, if you were to get someone like the Blackball Combat Club there on a regular basis, obviously you mentioned there Wheeler Yuta, another one. Tonight on AEW Dynamite, in fact, we're taking on Chris Jericho in a match I'm quite looking forward to seeing. And obviously, if Wheeler Yuta wins, he gets the shot at John Moxley, which we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, that's a very good point you make there. In the Blackball Combat Club, they're definitely one of the coolest factions in wrestling. Someone that has to be within a shout as well here to actually go and win these trios titles. Myself personally, I would say that I'd like them and the Jericho Appreciation Society, if they do have to cross paths during this tournament, to do it in the opening round. That's the way I'd like to see it, so we don't have it, you know, the obvious where you think, well, they're definitely going to beat them, they'll beat them, and they'll meet in the semi-final. Get it done nice and early, and then we can move them on. But as for the case with the BCC being involved with Ring of Honor, I do think it'll bring more eyes to the prize. So I do think it's a great point that you do make there. Noob & Co. With a great question here. Your thoughts on the AEW video game trailer? The one thing that annoys me is the mini games. Since when does wrestling become Mario Party? Now, I haven't seen all of the mini games. I'm going to be very open with this, but I have seen some of the still shots, so I'm going to put them on screen in a couple of seconds. But with the mini games aspect, I think for people that want something a little bit different in their gaming, not just the wrestling, for example, I suppose they're trying to be creative with what they do. For me, myself personally, I don't think I would go to minigames if you're saying that we've got a Mario Party. I think I could see a still actually of like a baseball kind of game, which for me, I don't think I would be going to play that personally. I'd be more about the in-ring product. And if there was like a general manager mode, which I know they've got the mobile game, that's more what I'd be inclined to do personally. So yeah, that sort of stuff wouldn't really work for me. But when it comes to actually the stills, for those who haven't seen them, I will bring those up on the screen for you now. So this is the latest stills from AEW's Fight Forever game. As you can see, we've got Kenny Omega giving the knee to Chris Jericho. This is one of my favorites, actually. The reaction to that powerbomb on the ladder there. I really like that from John Moxley. This is very No Mercy. This little still here with Thunder Rosa. And we've got the classic 1, 2, 3 there as well. And Chris Jericho to round it off. Now, I know a lot of people have been quite critical of the graphics when it comes to this, but my argument to that with people is that if you look with AEW and you look at what they're trying to do with this game, they are trying to create a No Mercy like game, a NWO WCW Revenge type game like we saw back in the late 90s, early noughties. So for that, with that sort of gameplay, that sort of style, if they present that with the, you know, the kind of arcadey kind of feel, I'm totally fine with the graphics, because if the gameplay is good and it's a fun wrestling game, then I'm going to be having a whale of a time playing it. We have to remember, and this is how short some people's memories are, if you're taking sides on the WWE AEW side, which I know a number of people watching this video right now aren't. I know that they're involved with a lot of the videos that is on this, whether it's WWE or AEW. But for those that are sort of on the pro WWE side, You were all moaning about WWE 2K20 not long ago, the most glitchiest game ever created. So bad that it's actually the one WWE game I never bought. But when it comes to the other side of things here with the AEW game, the most recent WWE game, the graphics are a lot better, the gameplay is a lot smoother. There's still a few glitches, there's still work to be done on the game. But for me personally, looking this here with this sort of AEW game, I still hold No Mercy and WrestleMania 2000, some of the best wrestling games ever created. Unfortunately, I'm showing my age again that I'm old enough to remember these games as well. But at the same time, if we get a game like that, I'm going to be very happy. And I do realize that the roster is going to be a little bit outdated here, but there is a good announcement that we've got CM Punk that'll be a part of this game. It's still to be known to this point if we're going to get the likes of, I don't know, like a Bryan Danielson or perhaps even an Adam Cole a part of this game. But the fact that we may get, if it's 50 characters, 50 of the biggest starting era characters involved in this would be quite nice to see. Obviously, with the look of what we could have with the cover as well. Jade Cargill, I think, is involved on it as well. So that looks exciting to see. I've seen Abaddon, which could be a fun playable character, even though she's not on AEW TV very, very often. The fact that she's sort of, she's a unique gimmick. You don't want to just play like, the same Joe Bloggs character that does the same moveset over and over. She'll be like a fun entrance to watch in this game. So there's lots of things to be excited about when it comes to this AEW Fight Forever game. There's a lot of hit and miss of what you see in the rumor mill, but for me personally, I'm going to stick out my neck and say that I'm actually quite excited for what Fight Forever is going to bring over. But hey, time will tell on that. I'd like to know some of your predictions, by the way, for anyone. I know we've got 8 people currently watching live at this particular moment. Let us know your predictions. Who do you think are going to win those Trios Championships? And if you've got any other questions, it can be AEW. Doesn't have to be AEW. Feel free to get involved. We're going to do questions for as long as we get them in on this stream. And then, obviously, we'll let you enjoy the rest of your evening up until the point that we get AEW Dynamite. But just as we call our next question up, I'm going to have a quick refresher because it is thirsty work doing this, and it's about 30 odd degrees Celsius here today, which is probably near towards 90 for the Fahrenheit. It's not vodka, by the way, just in case you wondered. Martin Courier here saying that it would make sense for Omega to join the Undisputed Elite. Remember the face reactions of the Young Bucks before Hangman hit the buckshot lariat on Omega at Full Gear 2021. Do you know, that's an excellent point you make there as well. The idea that if Omega was to actually come back and cost the Bucks, that would be really, really exciting to see. Like I say, be a different part of AEW TV that we've not seen as a story really at this point. And we can see the Bucks then united with Hangman Adam Page. Perhaps Omega actually aligns himself with Red Dragon and go for the championships, or maybe even the Elite grows itself with other members as well. It's very exciting to see how it could play out. I really like the idea of this storyline. The more you present it to me, Martin, I'm getting sold each and every minute that I read this. But yeah, it makes a lot of sense from, like you said, the way that Full Gear actually played out last year. Tino's time is in house. Tino, how are you doing? Thank you for checking out the stream. So what's up, Steve? How are you doing? I think the Undisputed Elite wins them because if I had them in WWE, they would have won the first ones. Well, do you know what? You can't argue with that because they're a cool faction. When they were in NXT, they were the coolest thing going. I still think they're a really cool faction in AEW as well, even if they still feel out of place to some people, the fact that they're not in NXT. But for me, I'm if you have heel champions as well, baby faces have to chase them, so that can be a good thing as well. Sometimes when you get these baby faces win the championships the first sort of go, they've kind of got that story narrative that they've done it already, so where is for them to go? So I like the idea that you've gone here with the UE to win them, because say the Bucks and Hangman were united, or it's Omega or whatever, and they don't win here, they get to chase those championships. There's still a story to be played out rather than just simply moving on to the next team and hoping that it's going to create and still have the same buzz about it that they'll have going in to Chicago's All Out. So I think that's a great suggestion, having the heels potentially to be the first ones to pick up the victory. The UE, of course, are definitely a great shout. Aside from Hangman Adam Page and Britt Baker from last year, has AEW made you interested in their current characters and storylines? Really good question, this one. I've got to say, I'm quite a big AEW fan. I do enjoy the content they do. Do I think that they have been less consistent this year than what they've been the last couple of years? Yes, but I think that mainly comes down to the fact that Forbidden Door wasn't exactly what they intended. We know a lot of matches were changed from what the initial plans were. And like I say, with the acquisition of Ring of Honor, as great as it is, I do think that there's too much going on a television show, and there's only so much space on AEW TV. So people come hit and miss. We see them like, I think it's Ethan Page that, and I'm hoping this is storyline related, not just anger related, but he did a tweet where he was like, it's great to do this. I'll see you again in 5 weeks. And then he got angry after he had his quick squash match on AEW Rampage. I think it was almost to the point of like, you give me this amount of time, that's all I've got. We've seen a lot of people complain about promo time recently. Like Eddie Kingston, like, I only get 30 seconds and stuff like that. So that could be a really interesting storyline because it would take Ethan Page to the next level for me. The guy is a phenomenal athlete. He's great in ring. He's a great promo, and he's someone for me that I feel that has been overlooked to this point. So he would be a perfect piece if you wanted to use that storyline and push him forward. But I'm interested in current characters and storylines. Yes, I am. I've got to be honest. I'm really interested in, like I said there, with Ethan Page, but I'm really interested as well with Ricky Starks. I think what they did last week on AEW Dynamite, I thought was absolutely incredible storytelling in such a short time, one segment. Obviously, Ricky Starks has been the heel champion, the FTW champion for such a long time. He comes out to the ring, he defeats Danhausen in what's a squash match, essentially, makes one more challenge like he'd done last week as well. He kind of got cocky. I'll put another match out there. But instead of actually saying he wouldn't do it, he went straight in against Hook when Hook answered it. Hook has been a strong babyface and, of course, was a team. Hookhausen just a short time ago as well. Hook winning the championship, and I'm invested in Hook as a character, by the way, because there's just a buzz about the guy. And I think the entrance music is just absolute fire as well. I love this, just the way he just doesn't care, the way he just leans on the turnbuckle. But back to the point anyway, Ricky Starks, of course, going sort of babyface, accepting the loss afterwards, saying you win some, you lose some, but now's his time again at that point of, waiting for your opportunity. I love that with how they dealt with Ricky Starks. And then just when you think it can't be enough, Hobbs says, I'm turning on you, and that heel turn done there and there. For me, I thought it was incredible. That whole bit of storytelling for me was exceptional. So yeah, there are things I'm really invested in. I mean, Eddie Kingston as well as a character, I think every time you just hear him pick up a microphone, I do enjoy the Jericho Appreciation Society, Jericho being a wizard and all the rest of it. I think it's really, really fun. Blackball Combat Club, they're cool as they're more designed for the professional wrestling side than actually the characteristic side. But John Moxley as well, you know what you get with Mox. Mox is just, it's all about hardcoreness. I do think he could bleed less. He almost bleeds every match. I think it will get to a point where you just kind of expect it and you don't feel it as much as what it should deliver on screen. But all in all, a lot of the stuff of what I see, I do enjoy. There are nitpicks that I get from each every week, but like I do with every wrestling show. So for me, I'm not against it. But yeah, I'm interested in a lot of what's going on AEW at present. Nubiko says, I believe that the Undisputed Elite will win the AEW Trios titles, whether it's Kenny Omega or the Young Bucks joining them. Well, I mean, that would be an interesting way to go. Like I said earlier on, to have the heels win it, you then have babyfaces chasing them. And the thing is as well, I've put this initial idea of a split. It's not guaranteed that happens. Like you said, it could be the Bucks that simply just help Adam Cole and Red Dragon win those championships. Why wouldn't that happen at this point? In current AEW storylines, as we are talking today, that would make the most logical sense to do so. So, yeah, I'm down with that. I think that certainly could be a potential and a possibility. Martin with another one here for us now. He says that Eddie Kingston versus Malachi Black should be Eddie's next feud. JS and BCC and Eddie Kingston feud has dragged on for too long. And do you know what? I do have some agreement in that as well. They need to move on from that because, I mean, unless they can do Eddie Kingston and Claudio Castagnoli, which I'm still not entirely sure of what all that storyline is. I mean, I'm not someone that's followed from the indie days of when they were in Ring of Honor and stuff like that. So I get they don't like each other. That's all I know so far. I look forward to learning more why they don't like each other. But and like you said, with Eddie Kingston and JAS with Jericho, didn't that start a revolution? That was like right down at like February time. So for me, yeah, I'm with you. I do feel that this has gone on for far, far too long. I also feel that when it comes to the BCC and the JAS, they've done War Games, Blood and Guts. They've done the big match. What's left for them to do? Anarchy in the Arena, they did as well, Double or Nothing. It would be nice for everyone to sort of move on a little bit because we kind of had it teased where they're still going in between and fighting with each other. I hope now after, I believe it's Quake at the Lake next week. I'm assuming Jericho wins tonight, actually against Wheeler Yuta. And I believe from there, we should hopefully get Moxley versus Jericho and hopefully we'll move on and everyone can go to the feuds that they need to go in for All Out. But Eddie Kingston versus Malachi Black, I would certainly be invested in. I think that would be a really fun for you to see. The only thing that I would go against that at this moment, and I'll do a couple of AEW match card predictions for you now for All Out. Malachi Black has had something going on with Miro right now, so I'm guessing that is probably the likely direction that we probably will get. As for Eddie Kingston, I'm predicting that he'll be in a mixed tag team match with Ruby Soho to go against Tay Conti and Sammy Guevara. Now, whether that's the people's taste or not, I'm not sure, but I think that that's the direction they will do, so they can get more women on the card as well, not just have 1 or 2 women's matches, but the mixed tag match as well, which I think as well make logical sense as well with Tay Conti. Obviously, we have Anna Jay as well being involved, recently turning and joining the JS as well. So for me, that would be my prediction where I think that the storylines will go. But if we can get to Full Gear with that, I will be quite happy with Eddie Kingston versus Malachi Black all day long. Also being asked here, what has happened with the MJF stuff? It's almost been 2 months. It really has. It's been a long time with the MJF stuff. I mean, to be honest, I think now they're going to start losing a bit of heat on it. And that's really a shame to say, because there was so much buzz on Double or Nothing weekend. And when MJF came out and said his part, he was well into the promo. We were eating every word, and then it came out that he's not been around since. It made sense for a little while, it really did, but now it's got to the point we've gone past Forbidden Door. We're now heading towards All Out. For me personally, I don't know. I'm not feeling it. I need MJF to come back in some capacity. My belief is that the longer he's off TV, the more that this actually was more shoot than storyline. And I guess if MJF is renegotiating new contract, my guess is then that perhaps they're not to the place they need to be yet, as of yet, to get MJF back on TV where both sides are happy with the situation going forward. But for me, if I was to fantasy book it right now, I think that the best place for MJF to come back would be at All Out. For example, if you can get CM Punk back beforehand, have CM Punk versus Moxley as your main event for the unified AEW World Champion, then have MJF coming back then, and then actually confronting the winner at the end of that. And then you could build MJF to go for that person for Full Gear. Because if MJF was to leave the company, it's a big if at this point, and he was to never become AEW World Champion, what a big missed opportunity, because it felt like he was such a big deal. One of the pillars, the homegrowns of AEW. It really felt like that his time was going to be coming this year. If you'd have asked me 12 months ago in 2022, will MJF win the strap? I would have said yes. And I even probably perhaps feel that now would have been that time. But hey, we'll have to wait and see how it will play out. Jones is in the house. Jonesy, how are you doing? Thank you very much for checking the stream. I'm doing very well, thank you. Hope you're doing well as well. Been doing the wrestling report on Rated R for Wrestling's channel recently. I believe each and every Sunday is the day that you can go and see that. The time slot, 4 p.m. UK time, 11 a.m. Eastern time, which I believe would be when you see it live. But of course, it's always available on demand now. You talked about SummerSlam, if I'm not mistaken, on your last show. Jonesy's first question is, I wonder how AEW will react to WWE's change of creative. Funny you mentioned that, Jonesy, because I happen to get a little bit of time to watch a bit of Wrestle Talk. I do like my Wrestle Talk on a daily basis. They do give me 9 minutes of good feel goodness with the best of the wrestling news going out on a daily basis. And it made reference to Tony Khan actually speaking about the idea of the change of creative in WWE. Now, Tony Khan has said that look, it's something different that's going to go on. It's not necessarily a bad thing for pro wrestling. It could be, it's a change of someone that he's facing, but I think he expects the same battle nonetheless. And if I'm speaking from a fan perspective, I think it's win-win for all of us, because if AEW are doing good things and WWE are doing good things, and if we were to talk about Monday Night Raw during this stream, which we're welcome to, by the way, it's not just an AEW stream, I do think that Raw was heading in a good direction this past week. So, I mean, for me personally, if we can have where Raw's good every week, SmackDown's good every week, and Dynamite and Rampage good every week, God, what a time to be a wrestling fan. It'd be really exciting to actually have, stakes feeling with every show and everyone feeling they need to outdo each other. It's not on the same night like it was back in the Monday Night Wars, but certainly it's a start anyway. Jones is saying, looking forward to Kenny Omega coming back later this month. That is the rumor that Kenny Omega will be back during the month of August. Like I said earlier on in the stream, I wonder if it will be involved here with the Trios Championships. Personally, for me, though, as I said earlier on in the stream, also Jones has done if you were around for it or not, I would like Hangman Adam Page to team with the Young Bucks. I would like them to go perhaps and win the championships, and then the first Dynamite afterwards, Kenny Omega to come back and go, so why did you make up with Hangman Adam Page? Like, why have you been on his side this whole time? And start the idea of conflict between them with the idea, will they reconcile Hangman and Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, or will Kenny remain heel? Certainly is, it's yet to be seen if any of that will actually happen. Martin saying that also we haven't seen a feud between Kip Savin and Miro since Miro has injured his arm. So hopefully we'll see that at some point just for a payoff. Do you know, it would be nice. They had a match though, if I'm not mistaken, and I believe that Miro squashed him. But yeah, in the actual program, because I think Kip at that time was still like, I want to be your friend, and still I'm okay with you. It was Miro that wanted to get away from him. The fact that Kip Savin would want revenge would be quite nice. But isn't Kip is the guy right now with the sort of marshmallow kind of like cardboard box on his head each and every week? That's been going on for what seems to be at least 6 months or so, probably even longer. Some will tell me if there's anything different with that. But for me personally, I need Kip back on the screen soon, because the guy was actually pretty good when we were seeing on our TV screens. I know that there's a lot more heat with Sammy and Tay Conti rather than we did with Kip and Penelope Ford. But I mean, this is what we're seeing now. There just doesn't seem to be a payoff with it. So I'd rather we see Kip Savin return to our TV screens soon before he gets released and he was just the guy that had a cardboard box in his head for such a long time. AEW need to improve their women's division. They should be rating Impact Wrestling, among others. Deonna Purrazzo, shocked she ain't full-time in AEW, says Jonesy. Well, they had Deonna Purrazzo, didn't they, for a one-match deal, didn't they, for her to drop the AEW, it wasn't AEW, it was Ring of Honor's Women's World Championship to Mercedes Martinez, and that match absolutely tanked. Now, I don't blame the performers during that match. I blame the placement, the lack of video packages. I said that there's been a little bit of inconsistency from AEW, and something they could improve is video packages. That's something WWE is sublime at. If you go back to this past Monday Night on Raw, for example, the way they presented how important the United States Championship is. Now, I know that WWE do different packages every week. We've not seen the US title being as important all the time, but the way they did that showed an importance. We needed to see on AEW, for people that weren't familiar with Impact Wrestling, why Deonna Purrazzo was such an important talent, why this was a big deal, her coming in, and why also this match should have been in the main event of a Dynamite, because they didn't do that. Instead, half of the crowd seemed completely unbothered and unfazed by it. The match was mediocre, to be honest, but to be fair, as I say, I'm a big fan of Deonna Purrazzo. I think she's one of the best women's technical wrestlers. In fact, scrap the women's, she's one of the best technical wrestlers in the world, and I do think she would thrive if she was in AEW. So for me, what I can say to know that Tony Khan has announced today, and All Elite Wrestling have announced that we've got some executive roles that have been given for a number of people in the company. We've got the likes of Sanjay Dutt, QT Marshall. They're doing stuff to do with not talent relations, but stuff to link with the creative to the talent. Talent relations, I believe, is going with Christopher Daniels. But you mentioned the women's division. They've brought in as a coach Madison Rayne, of course, a former multi-time Impact Knockouts champion. In fact, also a Knockouts tag team champion, and it was the tag team champion this year in Impact Wrestling. So she's got a lot of experience, a lot of wealth of experience, can bring a lot to a division, and I'm excited to see what she can bring to the women's division. Hopefully she'll make a few appearances as well. We've seen with the likes of Serena Deeb as well, a great trainer, great in-ring talent. So, I mean, I think Madison Rayne, for me, I think is a great get for AEW. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with that. But yeah, there's some great talent out there for AEW to sign if they want to. But remember as well, they will take people's spots right now that are actually on TV. And of course, when you look at the likes of not so long in Toni Storm, she's getting some performances, but already she's now in a tag team with Thunderstorm, rather than actually being someone that should be, actually vying for the championship. I know she got the shot of Forbidden Door, but it felt very quick and very throwaway, and I don't like that. I want to see more developing stories. I think right now, if you look at the AEW Women's Division, Jade Cargill was the one that is head and shoulders above the rest, alongside with Britt Baker. But of course, Jade Cargill, she makes that TBS championship seem so important with her undefeated streak. Jones will go say, well, I'm correct, by the way, the Wrestling Report, for all your dirt sheet stuff and crazy predictions. So that's right. If you want to go bold with Jonesy, or go home. That's what we can recommend on that there. We have got quite a few more comments coming in, so let's get into what everyone's got saying. Jonesy with another one is saying AEW having Omega, Brian Cole, and MJF, who could all be world champions. We've seen sport for choice. Show it's not the same in WWE. One day, maybe. Well, I mean, I think the difference here is with that, and this is going to be my counter argument for you, because I like to play devil's advocate, Jonesy, don't mind me. Of course, AEW have one full show. Everyone is under one roof on the roster. They all go to Dynamite. They all go to Rampage. We've got Raw and SmackDown split. Now, I know you're going to say to me, well, Roman's just been defeating everybody left, right, and center. But we had Brock Lesnar, who still is up there, regardless of whether we like it or not. We've got Bobby Lashley. We've got AJ Styles, Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre is going to be the next challenger. There are people that can do it. It's just whether you have the faith and belief whether WWE will give someone that push to go and win the championship, or would they give it to Theory? We'll have to wait and see. But of course, if you look at the array of talent there that you've presented there from AEW, absolutely, there is a great pool of talent there. And we're not even mentioning the champions that we've got right now in CM Punk and John Moxley. Absolutely unbelievable talent pool they've got. And there's so many people you've not even mentioned as well that would have potential of being there one day. Do you ever see AEW bringing in Wyndham, or has that overall buzz gone since he's been absent from WWE? Well, believe it or not, Jonesy, it's been more than 1 calendar year since he was released from WWE. Nothing since. Have we heard him? We've seen rumors to every show. He was rumored to every AEW show. He was linked to Impact Wrestling. Then he was making a movie. Now he's been linked going to AEW again. He's been linked to going back to WWE. But from the understanding that I've got, and this is from people that I talk with, obviously I'm a big advocate for Tom Colley, for example, Bray has no interest of going back at this particular moment. Now, obviously, there's been a change of the guard, for example, with Triple H in WWE. Could that change things? Maybe it might. I don't know. But with AEW, obviously, Wyndham commands a very, very big fee. Tony Khan will have the money to fork it out. He's paying John Moxley and CM Punk after all, and John Moxley's actually on a lot more money than CM Punk, from my understanding as well. So, I mean, the key is: do you think that Tony Khan would believe that Wyndham would make that big change to his television product? So that's pretty much the question we put out. I would be happy to see Wyndham back on my TV screen. I don't care where it is. He can be in New Japan for all I care. I go and watch anywhere he's going to be. And as you know, I'm a very casual New Japan follower. But if Wyndham turns up there, I would make more of a vested interest to try and see more of what Wyndham is doing. So, yeah, for me personally, I want Wyndham to come back. I don't think the buzz is completely gone, particularly when you look at these live streams. There's always questions about Wyndham, Bray Wyatt in these chats here. So I don't think that the character has been forgotten by people. It's just a case of who, if when someone can actually convince him to come back to TV. Martin says it feels really odd to see guys that are smaller than the usual, like Ali or Ciampa, get TV time and opportunity. Of course, in WWE Raw this week, I have just been used to seeing tall and muscular talent on top. Could be the change now with Triple H in charge. Of course, this is NXT, or is it? It's Monday Night Raw. We're seeing the smaller guys get the opportunity. And of course, I mean, Seth Rollins isn't the biggest guy in the world either. He's been a multi-time world champion in WWE. So like you say, it's good to see these guys getting a chance. And of course, Ciampa has got a United States Championship match next week. It's really, really fun to see. Ali was probably the best spot on Monday Night Raw. That sort of way he sort of bounced off his finishing move to end up in the Styles Clash was absolutely phenomenal spot. One of the things that I would turn around and say at the end of the year, I'll still remember that. Really, really fun spot. Like you say, it's odd to see it, but it's really fun to see it as well. And long may it continue. Everyone deserves an opportunity. And they're two potential top talents that could be doing really well in WWE. I'm not saying necessarily world champions, but they could have a prominent role in WWE if given the right opportunity. And they begin an opportunity this Monday on Raw. Let's see if they can capitalize on it. Easy for me to say in the coming weeks and months. And I do believe Ciampa will, because I think he will break away from The Miz now in the next couple of weeks. I think that Ciampa versus The Miz will happen at some point in the very near future. I think even The Miz could be the reason Ciampa doesn't win against Lashley next Monday on Raw. Jones says, what are you more excited about, Clash at the Castle or All Out? Big weekend in wrestling. Both shows will try to outdo each other. They certainly will. And the thing is as well, might even have an NXT takeover going on that weekend as well, which will also be on the Sunday, the same day as All Out. But my understanding is, and it's not confirmed yet, that could even be in Cardiff as well. So, Jonesy, I know you're heading to Cardiff. Would that be something that would tempt you? Would you go to that show as well if you could? Obviously, they may have some NXT UK talent like Tyler Bate, Ilya Dragunov, as well as perhaps some of the top talent from NXT as well. Obviously, now we've got, I'm going to say Jordan Devlin. I can't remember his new name, but he's in the top program right now with Bron Breakker. That would be an excuse to have that as like a main event for that takeover, wouldn't it? But to answer your question of those two shows, it's really difficult. And this is a particularly more of an AEW than WWE stream. So part of me says All Out, but look, I'm going to have to be honest here. I'm biased to everybody that's watching. I am born in England. We've got our first stadium show in like 30 years, since SummerSlam 1992. I was a little pup the last time WWE did a stadium show in the UK, and I hope it's not the last time they do it. Of course, my answer has to be Clash of the Castle, Jonesy. No, I would actually be shocked if that's not your answer as well, because I know you're going to be in attendance for what will be that historic event. And Martin says, what type of treatment do you expect the IC title will get, aside from the US title has got this week? I'm hoping that the Intercontinental Championship is next. Let's be fair, if Gunter is not on Clash on the Castle, by the way, with that IC title, the IC title was never getting on TV ever again on a premium live event, in my opinion. But I think it will. I think that we spoke about this the other day. I think Nakamura is a possibility. I would love Sheamus against Gunter for the IC title around that time. For me, would be really, really cool to see. So I think the IC title is going to get the same treatment, if I'm honest, on SmackDown either this week or next week. And I think they're going to try and build some challenges for Gunther going forward. They may want to get the Nakamura match done first before they do that, but I expect it because Triple H is a big advocate, obviously, for these championships. One thing that was the big talking point, I think, was the big positive from Raw this week. You didn't have Roman Reigns. You didn't have those two championships. Look what he tried to do with the rest of them. Bianca Belair was a centerpiece with the Raw Women's Championship, with the storyline of control throughout the night, the endorsement from Becky Lynch before she was written off TV, the tag team titles main evented Raw. When's the last time that happened? And certainly where it was felt meaningful anyway. And at the same time, when you look as well with the United States Championship, there was a big deal made of that. I was only the 24/7 title, but hey, no one's complaining about that, are they? But I expect with the IC title, yes, I think that will happen. Jones says, Clash of the Castle, who does Bianca defend against? Would it be Bayley or Rhea? At this point, I think it'll be Bayley if it's going to be a singles match. I do think they could, unless they do it on Raw next week, I think they could be building to a 6-woman tag team match here to delay the championship match for another month. I think we could get Bianca, Alexa Bliss, and Asuka going against the new group of Control, which of course is Io Sky, Dakota Kai, and Bayley. But if I had to pick one of them, I'm going to go with Bayley. But I think they may want to look to play the long game with that match. But I could be wrong. We'll wait and see. Martin here asking, it would not help a lot if WWE can bring in guys like Bret Hart, Undertaker, and more to help out with the ideas for Raw and SmackDown. It would help out a lot, is what you said there. They have a lot of wrestling knowledge. Absolutely. I mean, the thing is, Triple H just said that he wants ideas coming from everywhere. He's not against Paul Heyman bringing in creative ideas. He wants to give new and fresh and exciting ideas going forward. So yeah, for me personally, if you want to call on this talent pool for their ideas, their input, yeah, perhaps they're not going to sit in Stanford 16 hours a day writing for a storyline for Madcap Moss or anything like that. But if they can pass on some wisdom, some knowledge, absolutely, it make a lot of sense. And I think it would be great for you know, even for the creative team. This is something I always feel like, I mean, I'm never going to get the luxury to do it. So, I mean, you say what I would like to do if I was ever given the opportunity. I'd want to talk to every wrestler. I'd want to know that what their idea is, what their character is, what their idea is, what they want to see themselves doing going forward. I'd want, like you said, the legends, if there's a possibility of getting their wisdom, best ways of little tricks to get things in and out for storylines, because you can put a really creative product out each and every week. For me, I feel there's so many talented people here on YouTube that give their opinions that I don't see it's the most difficult thing in the world when we've seen such great television for professional wrestling over so many different years. I understand that ideas will get recycled and some things may feel stale after a while, but absolutely, when you talk about bringing legends in, someone like Bret Hart, someone like The Undertaker, you know, when you've had Steve Austin there at WrestleMania, just try and get that knowledge, try and get that experience. And like you say, you've got Triple H that's been there and done it all. Shawn Michaels in amongst NXT. There is so much talent pool there, so much wrestling knowledge. So absolutely, the more, the better. Joseph said, I recently saw Bret Hart's reflection on SummerSlam 1992 match. And did you know that the British Bulldog nearly didn't make the match and match plans were thrown together at last moment? I had no idea, Jonesy. I had no idea. And to think that match probably is a big reason why me and you are probably into pro wrestling still today. I mean, so I can say definitely for myself, obviously, when you have, you know, the show that's going on in England, Jones had been a longer fan for me at this point, but I'd only been a fan of pro wrestling since that WrestleMania. And I was looking out for primetime wrestling on occasion when I could see it on a Saturday when it was around. And then there was SummerSlam. And I remember when SummerSlam came and I saw the Bulldog coming down with Lennox Lewis waving that flag, you know, and then British Bulldog winning in the main event over Bret Hart in what was a 30-minute classic as well. For me personally, that just ticked a lot of boxes, and that's why I'm still here today. That match really did make a huge difference, and the fact that it almost didn't happen for me is mind-blowing. But certainly, I'm pleased to hear that it is going down. We'll go to our following questions. We've got Silk in the house. Just say a big hello to Silk, by the way. So it's on the plus side. At least we get Clash at the Castle. We'll be on during the day and not 1 in the morning. Absolutely. Hallelujah. For those here on the UK side of things. And for those in the States, you'll get it in the afternoon. You promise. Is it convenient for you in the States? Let us know. It'd be quite fun to see what you think about it. But for us, yes, there's a possibility for once, might be able to do a live review. I don't know. I can't guarantee it, but maybe it might happen. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see what will happen. Martin here says, if Gargano does come back to WWE, which I think he will, who wins the world title first, Gargano or Ciampa? Great question. Personally, for me, I would go Gargano just because I think that I feel he would. I feel Ciampa's he's got a wealth of experience. He's a great talent. I think he could be pushed as a top upper mid carder, but I don't see him as world champion, even with Triple H's pushing and backing. But I hope I'm proven wrong, because we've seen what they can do in NXT. If they can get that level over, especially with that feud those two had in NXT, arguably the greatest one in the whole time it was around its conception in Black and Gold era, it would be interesting to see if it could connect with the whole worldwide audience that watches WWE now, because obviously it's a small minority of the WWE audience that watches NXT. So it would be interesting to see what it would be like if people now saw it with the 2-3+ million viewers, what it is every week, could see that and could get on board with it. It'd be really, really nice. Joe says Raw was much better, just needed to be consistent every week. Yeah, I think we're in a growing stage now. I really think that it's getting better now. I think that the Madison Square Garden show was pretty good. I thought this week, though, as I said, it ticked a lot of boxes. I know we've already spoke offline, but as I said, one of the big talking points for me, 4 major storylines. They progressed throughout each and every part of the night as well. So yeah, for me, I like the fact that we had a continuation of stories rather than just segment, block off, segment, next segment. You know, I like when we've got some continuation of stuff going throughout the night, because it gives you a reason to be hooked on and want to see. That's what we used to watch back in the Attitude Era. We used to see Steve Austin be in the opening segment. He'd do something in the middle segment. Somewhere in the middle of the show, he'd stick cement in Vince McMahon's Corvette. Then he'd be in the main event, you know, against D'Lo Brown or someone. But you were invested to see what was going to happen throughout that show, because Vince was going to get his retaliation using someone from either the Nation of Domination or the Corporation or something. So I like that we had that sort of storytelling, and hopefully that will be the way going forward. Joe says he probably wouldn't go to an NXT show as well, but of course I can imagine it must be. It's not the cheapest show. I have seen the ticket prices for Clash at the Castle. WWE are not making it easy for people, but absolutely. I hope you enjoy yourself though while you are there. Absolutely. Has the 24/7 division been abandoned? I hope so. And also, when do you see Theory cashing in? I don't think it's been booted completely. I would say that it just wasn't on Raw this week. It was in Madison Square Garden, but that's still more of a Vince show. We'll see next week. That's probably a good idea. If it goes missing for 4 or 5 weeks, I think we can start questioning it. But to be missing 1 week, I think we can just sort of go, that's good. We less and the thing is that it can actually be booked well, the 24. It was actually quite fun at the start when it was being at the weddings and all the stuff. But it's when it's in the middle of matches and you've got about 6 decisions at once. I'm just like, I'm getting a headache just trying to keep track of who's winning championships when we've had 6 title changes in 20 seconds. It probably happened in the Attitude Era of the hardcore title, but unfortunately with old age, I don't remember it as well. And probably that's a blessing in disguise. Silk says, still don't think the show it has sold out. It should have been at Wembley. There was a better travel infrastructure there, and it's made it more accessible to people. I would have loved it to have been at Wembley, especially when we meant to talk about SummerSlam 1992. That's been a big, heavy talking point here in the last sort of few moments. For me, I would have loved it at Wembley, but the fact that Cardiff, I still think it's a big venue. I don't know what it's like for accommodation. Obviously, Silk, you're going to be there as well, so obviously, it'd be interesting to know your experiences. Perhaps that could be something we could try and discuss and do as a podcast either. If people would be interested, let us know, because it'd be nice to know the experience of not just what was the show like, but what was the atmosphere like being in the UK? What was the travel like? What was it like to have to get to Wales? Because for both of you, that's not local. You're both in England. It may not be too far away from Jonesy, but it's still a trek. Show us the experience. Tell us what it was all about. Would certainly love to know about it. But for being in Wembley, absolutely, would have loved to have seen it. But the fact that Cardiff, would that be because they have a roof in case it rains? I'm not sure, but I don't know the situation with the new Wembley either. Still not vodka, by the way. Tina's Time says, who do you think will seat show up on SmackDown this Friday, if anyone? I expect the normal wrestlers to show up. Roman Reigns, if we're lucky. We've seen the advertisement there, obviously with Drew McIntyre and Roman Reigns. That's my plan of the next stream that I'm looking to try and do if I can get another one in this week. And judging by my life current situation, it's not a guarantee at the moment if I can get another one in this week at the moment. But if I will, I'll be talking about Clash at the Castle in heavy detail and SmackDown as well. I think we'll get a stare down with Drew and Roman Reigns and hopefully what I want is a real big build to the storyline going to Clash at the Castle. I don't want it to just simply be, I'm the number 1 contender, I'm going to take those titles. Roman, you're not here every week. I want an actual storyline to just a proper beatdown. Maybe the bloodline, takes Drew out for like a week or 2 as well. Does Drew go into this show 100%? The storyline like that, I think, would be really, really fun. But I suppose the one I think people probably want me to answer when you ask this question, Tino, probably a lot of people asking Sasha Banks and Naomi, because they are technically SmackDown talents. Do I think they'll show up on Friday? I don't think this week, if I'm honest with you. I think they'll save it for the particular moment. But do I think that they will come back eventually? I'm actually going to stick out my neck now and say I do think they'll be back in WWE. It seems to be strong rumors after Monday when we did the live stream at that particular time, and those rumors have strengthened since. So I think it will be a case of when, not if. But do I think it'll be this Friday? That I'm not entirely sure about. We have got Jonesy saying, when does Sasha come back? Funnily enough, I think would be cooler. The pay-per-view would be cooler, but hard to pull off due to traveling. Well, that's the thing. If she comes off the plane and people see her, then the spoiler's out there. But, I mean, at least it's not Sean Ross Sapp that will have the scoop. I'm not sure if he's traveling over to Cardiff or not. But at the same time, for me personally, I would like it to be before, just because of the fact that I think what a lift for the UK crowd to know that Sasha Banks may be in a match on that show. I still think if you can't do Bianca, Alexa, and Asuka against Control, I would like it to be Sasha and Naomi with Bianca, just purely because I think they all were posing with the championships at WrestleMania together as well backstage. And the fact that Sasha and Naomi walked out on Raw as well, to see them come back there and perhaps maybe we can start a tag team feud off that way, get them back to the women's tag team titles and make those championships mean something, that for me would be pretty darn sweet. So that's what I hope happens, Jonesy, but I wouldn't count me on it at this point. Too Sweet Kyle from On the Mark Wrestling Podcast is in the house. How are you doing, Kyle? Hope you are doing well, my friend. Did you enjoy Nashville? You were at StarCast as well for Ric Flair's last match. Can't wait for your podcast tomorrow to explain everything. But of course, feel free to get involved and chat with questions as well. And for anyone that's watching right now, I want your predictions for the Trios Championships. I did it at the very start of the video, gave my take on it. I'd like to know what people think. Who will be the first ever AEW Trios Champions? I would be excited to know your opinions. Jonesy here saying, who would you next add to Judgment Day? I would say that the Demon change needs to happen, and also like it to be T-Bar AEW is being wasted. T-Bar would be an excellent choice. Yeah, absolutely. The fact you could just want retribution and stuff like that, I think would be quite fun. Ciampa would have been fun before, but I don't feel he fits the group now. But I do feel another male would fit the group for me. I wouldn't go with another female at this point. I think T-Bar is a good shout, though, because you've then got the basis, covered with a lot of tag team wrestling, singles wrestling, mid-card wrestling, world titles, women's titles. It's all covered in. And for people wondering, well, what's Rhea Ripley going to do in the meantime? I do think Edge is going to bring Beth Phoenix back at some point as well. And that will continue that feud on further. But I think T-Bar is a fantastic shout. I'm trying to really go into the back of my brain to think of another superstar that is wasted right now in catering. But perhaps someone that's even being used on the shows could be good. Maybe I'll just say, to be different, Mustafa Ali, because I do think he's a fantastic promo. He's a great character. And I do think as well he would fit the suit game really, really well in that group as well. What time would it start in the States? As I always get confused. Would that be with the Clash of the Castle? I'm guessing Tino's. For my understanding, what Ovi told me was that for them it would be 1 p.m. Eastern time from the Hard Hitting Wrestling shows. What he told me, 1 p.m., which would be 6 p.m. our time in the UK. But my feeling is the show probably wouldn't start till 7. So that's probably the kickoff if I had to guess at this point. But I'm sure, Jonesy, Silk, you've got tickets. You probably know the exact time that show starts. So that's the way we can definitely get there. But from the UK time, what it will be, for Eastern time, it will be 5 hours earlier. Yeah, 5 hours. Well, 5 hours later. How does that work? If we're starting at 6 p.m., you'll be starting at 1 p.m. in the afternoon, basically, is where I'm going with it. If you're on Central Time, that means it would be midday. And of course, it's a 9-hour difference, I believe, from UK time to Pacific time. So, yeah, if it started at 6 p.m., that would be 9 a.m. in the morning. So, yeah, it'd be that would be WWE with breakfast. I don't know how many people would fancy doing that. Certainly what I do when we have to watch a premium live event when it's in the States, because unfortunately, age catches up with you, unfortunately, when it starts at 1 o'clock in the morning. Too Sweet Carl says, I'll just be watching Clash in a hotel room since I'll be All Out in Chicago, so I'm okay with a day show. Fantastic. Do you know what I love to see? There's so many well-traveled, and Too Sweet Carl as well is very well-traveled. You've been to so many shows this year. I've mentioned the two that just this past weekend, but been at Hell in a Cell as well, if I'm not mistaken. I know Erica was at Ring of Honor Death Before the Sun just recently. I believe, was it... Tucky was at another premium live event as well. I want to say Backlash for some reason, but you guys have been to like almost every wrestling show this year. You're covering all the bases. It almost feels at this point that you'll be actually starting your own sort of Fightful Select at this point. I think Sean Ross Sapp might have some competition with the scoops you guys must be getting when you go to these shows. Silk says, if I wasn't attending Clash, I would have done a live watch along. That's that. I mean, that would be awesome to see as well, wouldn't it? And a good old live watch along. I can't promise I would do something like that, but certainly would be looking to try and do a review after the show if it's possible. Definitely would look to do predictions as well a few days before. To speak, Carl, that should be a blast. Absolutely. We hope you have a fantastic time at All Out, my friend. Of course, that would not be the first time at All Out either, if I'm not mistaken. Jones says, I'm shocked AEW have passed Gargano to Dakota Kai before she came back. Who else would you like to see WWE bring back out of the releases? Well, from the understandings, again, I'm going to use Wrestle Talk as the source because they've got it from another source, and that's the legitimate source. Apparently, there had been an offer made for Dakota Kai and not just AEW. I believe multiple companies went for her, but she opted to go back. And obviously, the difference is Triple H being in charge, I think, is what's making a big difference from a lot of people. Has AEW passed off Johnny Gargano? I don't think so. I think there definitely would be feelers made out from Tony Khan on that one. Maybe Gargano just doesn't want to sign somewhere at the moment and probably may have had an idea. Triple H might be in his ear saying, look, we know what's going to happen because we don't know the rumblings, what's been going on inside WWE for a long time. I'm merely speculating at this point. But say they knew the change of Vince has been coming for about 4 or 5 months, for example. There could have been a case that Triple H knew he was going to be in this position at some point, or had a good idea he may have been, and may have said, don't sign with them. We'll get you back here. Just give it some time. Wait till I can get you in. Because I think Gargano will be WWE now. If you told me to predict one way or another, I think Gargano will be on Raw or SmackDown as well, to note as well, not just NXT, I think before the end of the year. Oh, just to answer your other question, by the way, completely blank. Who else I'd like to see come back? Definitely what I want to see. I mean, the fact is Sasha Banks and Naomi we don't know if they're actually with WWE or not. I do want them brought back. For me, Karrion Kross, but with Scarlett, I think would be one that I would really, really like to see. It's a shame that you couldn't get Malcolm Bivens back. I just think he'd be an awesome GM. I'd love to see him in the GM role. That would be something I would have liked to have seen. Just trying to think if there's any others off the top of my head, because there's been so many people that have been released at this point. Some have been obviously signed other places, obviously like someone like Keith Lee, Adam Cole, Bryan Danielson, and obviously Cole and Danielson, their contracts run out. Would love to see them back, but I don't think they'll be coming back anytime soon. So I'll stick with Wyndham and Karrion Kross as the top two for ones that I would pick, with Scarlett, of course, as well. Obviously, Joyce Jones have missed it, but what did you think of the first hour being commercial free on Raw? For me, I'm fine with it, but at the same time, for Raw being a long show, I don't think it needs to be longer. That's just a personal thing for me. Obviously, I don't watch Raw live. Obviously, some of the people here, even in this stream now, actually do live watch-alongs and stuff. I'm probably very grateful for the no commercial adverts, but for me personally, watching it the next day, I can trim the adverts. I can get Raw watched in 2 hours, and that for me, I feel was a bit of a blessing. So knowing that it's actually a bit of a longer show, it can then begin to feel a bit like a longer show. But this week's Raw for me, I would say was that consistent that I didn't notice it as much. So this week I had no issue with it, but other weeks I do sometimes have a bit of an issue when it comes to it. But yeah, for me, I was fine with it. So Martin Gray says, I can now believe Triple H will use guys like Goldberg, Brock Lesnar, and even Randy Orton being used in lesser roles. Just imagine Goldberg versus Gunter. IC title resets its prestige, as it would. I mean, if Goldberg went chasing for that, even Brock Lesnar went chasing for those championships, what it would do for it overnight. Forget if Roman's not around. That's your main event sorted and covered. And the other belief as well is, I think that they would now put over the young guy. I think Gunther would have a chance of being the guy that would get the victory and get to the next level. I don't think we'd have said that previously. So for me personally, I feel that this would be great now. I wouldn't be as anti-Goldberg coming back if it was the case. It'd still be a little bit, but I wouldn't be as much as what I was before. Jonesy, I heard Triple H is worried about pushing Braun Breaker as he reminds him too much of his previous matches with Scott Steiner. Oh dear. Well, obviously those matches didn't go well when we remember those back in the day from 2003. Look, I mean, Braun Breaker, he, for me, I feel is someone that I think will get to the next level. But I don't think it's a rush to put him on Raw SmackDown at this particular moment. If you kept the rosters as they are, because we've not had the draft yet, I think SmackDown is the better place and would be a good, suitable place for him, because his style of matches for me, he is a cross between both Steiners and Goldberg. He should be going in a more dominant role in shorter matches, and SmackDown would benefit that further. So for me personally, that's where I would use him. But I mean, I would say there's no rush to push him to the top, and I'd even be fine with him staying in NXT longer. But I do think he will be up come the draft, if I'm being brutally honest. But we'll see how it goes. Also, he would be up for the idea of telling us the how it would be actually doing the travel to, what it's like, the experience in the stadium as well. So, Jonesy, we'll look to definitely do that stream. That would be a lot of fun. And Silk, if you're up for it as well at some point, do let us know, because it would be a lot of fun to put that together. Also, Martin Guerrero, Beast in the East back in 2015, I believe, was something different from WWE. If people like Nakamura and Asuka get billed as top names, would be good for a show in Japan again. Do you know, I completely agree. I would be so down for that. And do you know what? This goes to show as well why this was one of the worst booking moves in WrestleMania 34. If you remember at the time, Nakamura against AJ Styles, Nakamura won the Royal Rumble, and then he was booked so poorly after that. That, you know, it felt like it was the most obvious change to what the Nakamura would go and win that championship. Instead, they sort of went with a cheap heel turn with the low blow. Low blow, I suppose, was fun for a little bit because AJ almost forgot to wear a cup, stupid boy. But at the same time, I do feel that they could have done better. And like you say, Asuka, she's been up and down with her booking in the last sort of few years, but I do think she's been booked as a top star in comparison to Nakamura. Kushida is another one. You look and say with a lot of the Japanese talent, you would not have been surprised had Io Sky had wanted to leave WWE. She didn't have faith in how she would have been booked on Raw SmackDown. Now Triple H is there. I do think it'll be better. But like you say, Beast in the East was a great, fun one-off show. I actually wouldn't mind going back and watching that again one day, particularly for Finn Balor against Kevin Owens was a standout match for me on that show. So yeah, I mean, hopefully they would do it at some point. I would be open to the idea of them doing that again, but so I'm gonna have to tell. They have the Saudi deal, don't they? So they do those stadium shows a couple of times a year. We're lucky in the UK that we're getting that. So obviously, I say we're getting that. I'm actually not in England right now, but obviously, I pride myself on being from the UK. So you know, we're getting that for the first time in 30 odd years. So I'm really pleased to see that. I hope it's not a one-off, but of course, other locations do deserve it as well. So hopefully, we will see WWE do a lot of traveling. Maybe even Australia will get the chance to see it at some point again, somewhere down the line. Because I thought their Super Showdown was quite a fun show and a very passionate crowd when they got the opportunity. Jonesy says they have to have Sasha to replace the absence of Becky and Cody. Yeah, I mean, the things that would make a lot of sense as well. I mean, Becky Lynch is one of, if not the top star of Monday nights right now. Cody being gone as well. So yeah, they are missing a bit of their top stars on Raw right now. So Sasha coming back definitely would fill that void. Bayley has done a great job in filling that void instantly as well. It just feels like a fresh and exciting show with that new group there as well. So I mean, if Sasha was to come in and then go against Bayley with that, we may finally get the Sasha versus Bayley match as well on the main roster with good given time and good given build that they've teased so many times and then not really. Well, they did do it Hell in a Cell, didn't they, in the end during the pandemic and that. But to get it on a crowd and maybe in front of a WrestleMania, because I still think it'll be actually Becky versus Ronda Rousey at the time. Bianca, I'm not sure what her future will be right now when it comes to WrestleMania, but would love a Sasha versus Bayley match. That would be awesome at WrestleMania. I think there would definitely be, that could be something that would entice, I think, to come back if that was for a championship as well. Jonesy, why can they not have Becky just do promos, just like other people who are injured still on TV every week? They may do that. There's not, I mean, I don't know 100% that she's definitely going to be off now for the foreseeable future, but she could be. I might guess, so separated shoulder, I don't have the quick these things healed, but I'm guessing that we've got, 6-7 months till WrestleMania. I'm expecting she'll be back in time for Mania. Will she be back in time for the Rumble, though, is the big question. I think everybody has it on their lips. But would it be overkill if Becky and Cody returned at the Rumble matches and both won them? Perhaps, I don't know. Maybe you do one and then the other further down the line. But yeah, for me, I think Becky could do promos. Maybe she should do something from home in the meantime. Doesn't have to be necessarily even be in front of the live crowd and just put the message out there. Look, you did this to me, Bayley. You did this to me, Io. You did this to me, Dakota. I'm going to get this fixed. And when I'm going to come back, you three are the people I'm coming for. Forget championships. That's not my role right now. I did that. I tried it with Bianca. I lost. I wasn't the better one on the night. I know I can win that again in the future, but right now you're my focus. You're what I'm going to come back on, and you're going to be in the same position when I come back as you've made me right now. That's what sort of promos we could get from home, and I think that would be really, really fun. So yeah, I think we could still get it. Whether it will happen or not, it remains to be seen. We've got Noob and Co here. What fuse do you want to see now? Triple H is in creative control. I would like to see Bianca versus Bayley because they've got a score to settle, absolutely. And a feud between Asuka and Sky might get ruined. I don't think it would. You know, I was sitting this on Raw, and I was sitting there thinking to myself, both of them obviously were on opposite ends. I was like, that's a match. I did think about you. I was like, that's a match you wanted from. I'm so that's a match I want to see as well. I really want to see Asuka against Io Sky, and if they can do that, I think it'll be a fun program. I really, really do. I don't know what the feud would be based around at this point, but the fact that we've got Control involved, obviously, you know, this group that's looking to cause chaos, and they're not going to control your narrative, Braun Strowman. You can get off that Twitter handle every time that they put that on there. But at the same time, I think they could make it work. Even if it starts in the tag team environment, you get the singles match on Raw at some point. I think it could be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. I thought Io as well had a fantastic performance against Bianca Belair. For me, the only difference I would have made with that match, actually, rather than the false finish, I'd have given Io the win. But I would have done it with Bayley costing Bianca Belair. So Bianca is actually, how can we put it, probably saved in defeat rather than actually taking the clean loss to Io, because then the new star looks really, really strong really, really quickly. Jonesy, if I was booking WWE, I'd have Gargano cost Ciampa next week on Raw and turn up and help him, and then you have DIY. I absolutely would love DIY. I think that would be awesome to see if that's going to be the scenario at some point in the future. Like I say, they can feud forever, they can team forever. One thing's for sure, I think they will be on the same show together at some point in the near future. Again, if I had to predict it, I'm going to go before the end of the calendar year. I think that we'll get Gargano and Ciampa on a Raw or SmackDown together, whether it's feuding or actually as partners. Tino's, yes, well, my bad. No, you're fine, man. I just me trying to work out the times myself. Jones says the show starts at 5:30 p.m. So I'm guessing that for you guys, maybe that's going to be a kickoff match if I had to guess. But interesting, it's a 5:30 p.m. start. So for you, then that means, Tino, that would be 12:30 p.m. Eastern or 11:30 p.m. Central, depending what your time zone is. So, and maybe you're Pacific, so that would be 8:30 in the morning. So definitely you can get your cereal ready at the side with milk and perhaps maybe an energy drink to get you through the morning to watch some good old WWE. But certainly will be fun. But the stadium opens at 3:30 p.m. That's amazing stuff indeed. Still saying it starts at 3 p.m. UK as far as I'm aware, so that would be like 10 a.m. East Coast. So yeah, amazing. I mean, if that's when the stadium opens around that time, gives people that time to get in, that'd be really, really fun. I remember when I did Survivor Series, they had an hour and a half before the show started. I think maybe within 2 hours before the main show started, not involving the kickoff. So hour and a half until you had the Priest and Nakamura match, so you have time to get in. Because one thing that I felt, you're going to probably feel it worse than I did, because mine was probably 20,000. Yours is going to be, if it sells out completely, will be 70,000. There is that initial point where you look and see the queue and go, oh dear, how are we going to get in time? But they are quick and they are efficient, and they usually get you in right bang on time to get your seats in front, time for the show, time to get beverages. So many people getting time for food, time to buy merch. I mean, I bought a t-shirt before the show started. So you should have plenty of time if you've got two and a half hours beforehand. Obviously, try and get there in good time if you can. But, obviously, it's going to be a fun time. And I imagine as well, with such a big stadium, there'll be multiple different parts where you can enter the venue as well. So, yeah, really exciting times. Really looking forward to it for you all. And we've got Too Sweet Carl here says, we've actually had some of the OTM every show this year. Can you keep that going all the way to the end of 2022? That would be something epic. Yeah, fantastic stuff, Kyle. And I mean, the thing is, always such a fun podcast to listen to as well. So yeah, that would be really, really sweet. And still says it does start 1 p.m. Eastern. So there you go. It's got some clarification there for you, Tina, as well. And it says we'll be his second All Out as well this year, which is fantastic. And Silk says, excellent show. Look forward to the next one. Thank you so much. And we will be closing things off in a couple of seconds now. We're just going to go through the remainder of our questions and then we'll go. But it's good to see that it's good to see you. And definitely he looks like he's in as well for that future podcast, which we'll look to bring to you in and around the time when Clash of the Castle has passed. Martin Korean says those NXT TakeOver Nakamura's interests hit different. That main event Nakamura, maybe we could see it again. Who knows? In the right circumstances, they could do it again. I don't feel it will happen again, if I'm honest. But Triple H did something special with Nakamura. And we've seen already in 2 weeks how Ciampa's been booked so much different, so much more going on with him in the last 2 weeks on Raw. With SummerSlam as well, he was actually on the show as well. Like, not even in the match, but actually was at SummerSlam. So maybe they could do this with Nakamura. And it takes 3 or 4 weeks of good booking. And all of a sudden you start thinking, there's a chance. Martin Korea here saying as well, do you see the crowds of Raw, SmackDown and Premium Live events becoming slowly but surely like the NXT TakeOver crowds? If WWE gives you a reason to, yes. If you look back in the Attitude Era, for example, you go back to like them old shows, the signs, no one could see anything. There were so many signs everywhere. You don't get that these days. Of course, I think these days everyone, I don't know, I wouldn't be bothered to carry a sign with me to a show. I don't know about anybody else, but at the same time, it could happen. I don't know. My take on it would be that I think we will get more excitable crowds. People will be more into what's going on if you're given a reason to know what is going on. Tina says, I've got to get my egg McMuffin and some coffee before I go live. I think that's a good shout, my friend. Definitely an early night for you the night before as well. Perhaps maybe straight after SmackDown, call it an evening would be a good shout. And we'll take this as our last question in. At the moment, for all the wrestling shows that have occurred this year so far, which one do you wish that you was there live? That's a really great question. For me personally, SummerSlam would have been exciting, but knowing my luck, I would have had that ring collapse and I wouldn't have been the ring risen and I wouldn't have seen the thing. So I'm not going to pick that show for me. I always have the dream one day I will go to a WrestleMania. It's still on the bucket list to do. And yeah, for me this year, I thought WrestleMania was really, really good. So I would say if I could have been at a show this year, WrestleMania would have been the one that I would have liked to have been at, certainly. But AEW have a big buzz with a lot of their shows as well. And certainly for me, if there was one on their calendar, I am very tempted for an All Out, I think would be. That feels always, for me, like the biggest show. But of course, Double or Nothing was in Vegas as well. So it's a location I've not been to either. So, I mean, there's lots of exciting things. Chicago I've never been to. WrestleMania next year in LA as well. So there's lots of places I would love to go and see, a lot of places I'd love to go and visit, not just for the wrestling, believe it or not, but certainly maybe one day. We'll have to wait and see. But if I had to pick one so far from this year, I definitely think I would go with WrestleMania 38. Certainly with the 2 nights, Steve Austin wrestling, Kevin Owens, obviously to have seen Steve Austin live, and you know, the great matches that we had with Cody's return as well against Seth Rollins, Bianca and Becky, which is one of my favorite matches of the year. You know, a lot of the matches just were fantastic at WrestleMania this year. So yeah, that'll be my shout. But that's it for everything. Thank you everyone that's been watching this stream, and I hope you've all enjoyed it. And I'll look to try and do one more of this week as well. Probably will be more focused on the WWE theme. Definitely with Clash of the Castle coming up. Got to start getting that the content out for Clash. If you've enjoyed this video, please do like it, share with a friend, and subscribe as well. If you're watching this on delay, thank you for checking it out. Let me know in the comments. Of course, we had a big discussion for the first half of the stream on AEW. I would like to know who you think will be the first ever AEW Trios Champions. Like I said, there's lots of options. Some teams maybe not even been mentioned by me. I couldn't necessarily bring everybody in there, but certainly would like to know your thoughts in the comments below. Like I say, sharing is caring. Let your friends know SCW is here. Really, really do appreciate all the support. But that's all from me anyway. Thanks for watching. Have yourselves a great one. Enjoy AEW Dynamite if you're watching tonight. If you're not, if you're watching SmackDown on Friday or Impact Wrestling, NXT, whatever's your flavor, go and enjoy it. Enjoy pro wrestling. Thanks for watching as always. And thank you, Martin, for the kind words. Great stream. As always, the good times for coming all. I can't even read anymore, Martin. I do apologise. As you can tell, I've not been hydrated for a short time. Great stream as always. Good times are coming for wrestling. Have a good day, Steve. Thank you so much, and to yourself as well. Take care. Have yourselves a good one. Enjoy yourselves. I'll see you next time here on YouTube. Have a good day.